My boyfriend and I dated a few years ago and, I thought, had a wonderful relationship. I trusted him. He put tons of effort into our relationship, etc. His job transferred him out of state, so we split. He begged for LDR, but I said no. He'd been trying to get back together ever since. He'd routinely ask about coming to see me when he had time off work, and when I would book solo vacations, he'd ask if he could meet me at my destinations. I declined, but things eventually worked in my favor, and I said, "Duck it? Why not? We were good together, and if it doesn't work?" I got the once-in-a-lifetime chance to live in New York for dirt cheap. I went to see him a half-dozen times or so, and we got back together. Since he had his own place, thanks to Mommy and Daddy's money, I sold my little house, moved across the country to the heart of New York City, and started paying him super cheap rent. I soon learned my lesson. Dude was cheating, and not just with anyone, with high-dollar prostitutes. He was even working on making connections to moonlight as a screener/some security person at a parlor at one point. Major ick, to say the least. I decided to play the long game. I played everything cool, despite confronting him. I lied and said maybe we could reconcile if he jumped through all the hoops, STD tests, weekly therapy, tracking software on his phone and screen recording software on his phone, etc., which he has done. I started saving even more than before. I kept an eye on the housing market, and I'm now under contract on a place back home. Since it's a cash transaction, it's more likely to close. My closing is in 3.5 weeks. I've already secured a job transfer with my company, who allows me to move at will. I'll be renting a car, and since I didn't come here with much, it'll take me literally 2 hours to pack and load up everything. So here's my question. I kind of want to leave him a 30-day notice letter on the kitchen table, along with a check for November's rent and a refund on his portion of the vacation we booked, with my keys in a lockbox on his door. Then, maybe write, "Because all cheaters deserve to die alone," or something to that effect, or maybe even a more detailed closure letter of sorts. Then, I'll send a follow-up duplicate copy of the 30-day notice certified mail while on my road trip, so he can't pretend he didn't get it. That sounds so satisfying, even though it'll cost me an extra $600 to give him notice then, around Oct 5 instead of Oct 1, since I'll owe November's rent. We don't have a written lease, and I doubt he'd come after me for it, but I sure the hell ain't leaving it to chance and giving him any excuse to try and find me, considering all his legal connections. Per New York law, our verbal month-to-month lease is enforceable. Then, of course, I dip, block him on everything, change my phone number, and skedaddle. The other option is to tell him by October 1st, stay with him a few more days, and then go. Hotels here run $250 nightly, and that's without my dog, who obviously has to come too, so exiting the place October 1st is less than ideal. I'd still go permanently no contact, but OFC if wouldn't be as fun. What do y'all think? Would I be the asshole if I did what I want to do? Update. It all worked out, and I didn't tell him squat. I closed on my new place the second week of October. I was originally thinking I'd be out of New York the week after, but my employer had other plans, and so I did not leave until the end of the month. Once I got the go-ahead from my employer, I scheduled to rent a car before work one Monday morning. The day of, I parked it in the closest garage I could find to where I was staying, made a few trips on foot between the ex's condo and the car to start inconspicuously loading the trunk with what few belongings I had, and then went to work. I came home that night, played everything cool, and acted like my normal, loving self around him. When he went to work a few hours after I got home, it was showtime. I loaded up my oversized backpack one last time, left the 30-day notice on the kitchen table, along with a money order for his portion of an upcoming vacation, quadruple-checked that I wasn't forgetting anything, and that was it. 3 weeks later, it appears the only thing I forgot was my PS5 controller. Oops! My dog and I left that apartment for the very last time. We walked over to the parking garage and hit up a USPS blue box along the way to drop in a duplicate copy of the 30-day notice that would also contain his keys. I didn't leave him an explanatory note or message, didn't give him a piece of my mind. None of that. No context whatsoever. Just the 30-day notice and explanation for the money order. Then, my dog and I were out of there. I was more than terrified to have to drive through Queens and Manhattan, but I got through it. Leaving at 3 a.m. definitely helped. Once I was well into New Jersey a while later, and way out of the New York metro, I stopped for gas and took a few minutes to block his ass on every conceivable platform. I drove over 15 hours straight and crashed that night at a Motel 6 20 minutes from my new address. I was back in the Midwestern city. I've called home since graduating college eons ago. The next morning at 10 a.m. sharp, I met with my realtor to pick up my new keys and see the condo I bought for the first time. I love it, just my dog and I. Furnishing and decorating this little space has been a blast. I live in a high-rise complex that includes 4 buildings of rentals, 1 senior living building, and then mine, which is all owned condominiums. My first apartment ever was in one of the rental buildings, and back then I found myself looking at listings in this building, wishing I could just buy one of them instead of renting since I loved living there. Lo and behold, 13 years later, my condo is the exact same floor plan that I loved then. I sure the hell would have never thought back then that this would be the story to get me here. However, I can't believe this is something I'm going through right now. We've known each other for 13 years and been married for just over 1 year. He filmed our wedding, watched my happiest day of my life, and then proceeded to destroy everything. I've tailored my life around being with her, passed on amazing opportunities because I wanted to be with her. And now I have nothing, apart from lifelong trust issues. I only found this out 2 days ago. I don't know how I'm going to continue. Everything is just so raw and painful. I never knew how painful my heart can feel. I just want my life back. To the people asking for updates, we were on a weekend away with friends. She fell asleep, and I took her phone and went in the living room. I know it was wrong of me to go through her private stuff, but I did, because I needed the truth. The way she spoke about me to him was disgusting. I feel so vile. The way that they've sexted each other makes me feel sick. I phoned my mum and siblings and told them all while sobbing. She came downstairs, and I had to confront her, no other choice. She just sat there and took everything. I wasn't horrible, but I told her how hurt I was and how this has ruined my life. We didn't want to ruin anyone else's weekend, so we packed our stuff and left at 3 a.m. She spent the entire car drive crying, and I just sat there quiet, completely numb. When we got home after 4 hours, I got home and broke down. I'm leaving my home and everything I've built here. All my friends, my hobbies, the life I wanted so badly. Gone. I've never sobbed so visceral like that. My mum drove up and picked me up, and I just grabbed some stuff to help me last for a couple of weeks. And of course, I took the cats. I'm at my mum's house now. Not slept. The cats are so stressed since my mum already has 4 cats. It's heartbreaking. I've sent the "we're divorcing" text, even though it's so hard, because I can't just stop loving her overnight, because I've loved her for 13 years. I'd do anything to just have my life back. I want it back so bad. After all of this, I don't think she's a bad person. But she has done a terrible thing. I know I'll probably be blasted for saying that, but like I said, I can't stop caring for her overnight. I wish I just had not looked at her phone, so I could have been happy just a little while longer, even if it sounds self-destructive. Edit. It's day 3 and everything is still raw and unsettled. I've taken comfort from a lot of these messages. I do appreciate the advice given, but I'd respectfully like to ask for the advice to stop. I've took it all on board. I really have. I need time to heal and just be with my family. I don't think it's healthy to keep looking at this thread. Thank you all. Much love.